Hi! Welcome to Luxury in Moderation, where we appreciate the finer things in life without going overboard. My name's Joanne and I upload videos at least once a week, so please subscribe if you haven't already. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Chanel versus Dior. And this is in response to the recent Chanel price increase. And I've seen a ton of videos here on YouTube explaining not only what the price increases are, but also what these influencers who love luxury like you and me think about the price increase. You know, if it's fair, if it's insane. But today I'm going to focus on the Chanel Classic Flap versus the Dior Lady Dior bag, because I've seen a couple of people talk about what bags you might buy instead of the Chanel Classic Flap. Since the Chanel Classic Flap prices have increased so much, and maybe you've decided that you don't want to spend that much money on a handbag or it's out of your reach, maybe you are considering some alternatives. So while I feel like the Lady Dior bag is a beautiful bag, I think that there are some specific differences between the two styles that should be recognized if you are considering comparing the two at all. So with that being said, I actually think that there is really no comparing the Chanel Classic Flap to the Lady Dior bag because they are such different bags and they are such different companies. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm the most knowledgeable person here on YouTube or the internet that knows all the history about both Chanel and Dior. But I do think that there are some striking differences between the two. Chanel really was a person who wanted to empower the woman, and she created her brand and her clothes and her bags in order to arm this woman who she saw as a powerful person in society who could do everything. So that's why the Chanel suit does have a shorter hemline and it's made for a woman in business. Whereas Dior had a really different philosophy. He really loved how feminine the women silhouette was, and he wanted to emphasize their curves, which is why he created the new look, a style with a much longer skirt, so that could really accentuate the hourglass figure of a woman. So actually, it's funny because when Dior came out with his new look and women started wearing longer skirts, the men actually got pretty annoyed because they were like, oh, we're having such a good time looking at all these women's legs and now you're covering them up again. So how do these two brand philosophies translate to the bags that they are so well known for? So I have here my own large Lady Dior bag, and it is in this patent beige color. And I also have my Chanel Jumbo in this very, very light beige. So I think the regular Chanel beige is much darker and actually is quite a lot closer to this Dior beige color that I have. So I think comparing the regular Chanel beige and the Dior beige is probably the only similarity I would say between the two. So Chanel designed the classic flap bag around 1950s, and that was the first time a shoulder bag was created for a woman. So even though the chain is very long and you could wear it as a crossbody bag, I think the original intent was for the woman to wear this bag on the shoulder so that they could have their hands free and do a lot more with their hands as they are going out in the world. In contrast, the Lady Dior bag was created around 1994 and it was named the Lady Dior bag in 95 for, of course, Lady Diana, who loved this bag. And you can see her in a lot of photos wearing this bag, and she is primarily wearing it as a top handle bag. So you can see here, it is a very elegant design, and the top handles are especially well sculpted. They have this beautiful, comfortable shape, and it's accented by the hardware around the handles. So it's a very beautiful bag, but it was intended to be worn as a top handle, as a very proper and prim lady to bring with her as she goes on her lunches or any other place a stereotypical lady would bring a bag to an event. And even though the Lady Dior does come with a strap these days and it matches the material and the hardware, some people say that this Dior strap that comes with a bag feels like an afterthought. And I think that is absolutely true, because nowadays we might put the strap on and wear it as a crossbody or wear it on our shoulder, but that was not the original intent. And I think that it's pretty clear it wasn't part of the original design, because this bag is supposed to be held with the top handle like a proper lady in society would elegantly hold, as she wouldn't have to hold anything else. It's not like she is holding a travel mug going to work or a cell phone talking business with her boss, right? This bag was intended for a lady who doesn't necessarily have to work because she is in high society and doesn't need to do all the things that Chanel probably envisioned her woman would be doing and would need to be hands-free for. I'll show a clip of me here with the strap on the Lady Dior, but again, I think it is absolutely a afterthought. The strap wasn't meant to be used with the bag, and that's why I think that with the straps hooking onto the middle of the bag where the handles are, it really doesn't help balance the bag properly. For me personally, I like straps that are closer towards the edge so that it gives more stability to when I am wearing the bag on my shoulder. And if the strap is too close to the center, like it is here on my Lady Dior, it allows the bag to flop around a lot more, and it just doesn't feel as secure as I would like.
So even with the medium-sized Lady Dior, where the bag isn't as wide and carrying it at the shoulder strap wouldn't be as much of a imbalance, I never really felt like I could wear it with the strap because it just didn't work with the look. So the bag is very elegant. It's made for what seems like formal events, and the strap is more of a casual look and it never seemed to go together. Furthermore, the strap is not adjustable, so that's also a further inconvenience.
And I think that these tiny details definitely affects how the bags work in real life for you. So when you are carrying around a Lady Dior, I don't think it's going to be as fuss-free as a Chanel Jumbo, because it wasn't designed to be a convenient bag to get in and out of. So for example, I have the older model of the Lady Dior, which means mine comes with a zipper. And you can see that the zipper is actually sewn very, very tightly. The edges are all sewn into these stiff sides, and the opening is not very large. Now, I know that the newer Lady Dior bags do have a flap instead of a zipper, but the same issues still arise because of the original style of the bag, which is, it is very hard to get in and out of this bag. If I wanted to put a notebook in here, an agenda, maybe a water bottle, I would definitely have to stretch the opening very wide. And even if you do have the flap version, the width of this opening is still not very large. You can see it's about 2 inches maybe, and you're never gonna get a wide opening because you have these two handlebars again restricting how you're getting in and out of the bag. You're not going to have easy access to the things that you put in your bag. Now, on the other hand, I know that there are some people who say that the Chanel Classic Flap with the double flap is also not that convenient to get in and out of really quickly because of the double flap. For me, I don't have a problem with the double flap because I know that it helps maintain the shape of the bag. And the second flap really doesn't affect me that much. I just flip it open whenever I go into my bag anyways. And you can see that the opening, well, right off the bat, it looks as large as the Dior one. The sides are soft and it can be opened up much more. So for me, I think that the jumbo is made to be more easily accessible than the Dior was made to be. Another reason why I think it's very hard to compare the two bags is because Chanel and Dior have had very different ways of managing their brand up until this point. So Karl Lagerfeld stepped in the 1980s and added the double CC, and that's what really made the classic flap explode with more popularity. But even though it started gaining popularity back in the 80s, I think it's been a pretty steady upward rise of popularity. Obviously, back then, there wasn't social media to show everybody in the world who has a Chanel Classic flap, but they were trying to maintain a very steady increase rise in popularity. As I mentioned, the Lady Dior bag was created in 1994 and then renamed in 1995. So the Chanel bag had already had much more history than the Lady Dior bag. Not only had Chanel herself been wearing this style for almost 50 years, then Karl Lagerfeld came in and again increased the popularity almost 10 or 15 years before the Lady Dior bag was even a design for the Dior house. So I'm sure the Lady Dior bag was very popular when it first came out. Again, we know the history with Lady Diana. But since then, I don't think that the Lady Dior has gotten much attention as an iconic bag for the Dior brand up until very recently. I would say that the Dior brand has gotten much more popular probably starting last year, going into this year, and it's definitely gotten very hot, such as how Gucci got, very hot and trendy and popular a couple years ago. And Dior has gone through many creative directors in the past 10, 15, 20 years. Whereas we know that Karl Lagerfeld has been a steady voice in directing the Chanel creative and the Chanel look for the last almost 30 years. So with Dior changing their management and their creative direction so often, I feel like just due to all the changes, they haven't been able to focus on an iconic bag as the same way that Chanel has. So Chanel has been working on the popularity and growing the popularity of the Chanel Classic flap for all this time, whereas Dior has been experimenting with different styles, different creative direction. And when Marie Grazzi started, she is definitely taking the brand in a great direction. Everyone loves her designs, and I agree that they are beautiful and they are worth being talked about right now, but they haven't invested the time of the last 5-10 years to uphold the Lady Dior as an iconic style. So that's why we can clearly see that on the secondhand market, the markdowns for the Lady Dior are always much more than what the Chanel Classic Flap markdowns were. Again, since Dior is rising in popularity, I'm sure those secondhand market prices are reflecting that and they are creeping up. But we don't know how long Marie Grazzi is going to be around. And if they change directions, what's going to happen to the popularity again? Dior doesn't have the same investment in making sure that their iconic bag is keeping up the image of the brand. So if the only reason why you are looking at a Lady Dior is because you think that it is to the Dior brand as the Chanel Classic is to the Chanel brand, I think there's a little bit of truth there. Of course, we do know that it is a beautiful bag. It is very elegant. People love it. But again, it doesn't have the same history. It wasn't created by Mr. Dior himself. Like the Chanel Classic Flap has the roots in with the inventor of the brand. And again, there hasn't been a consistent follow-up from the Dior brand to keeping this iconic style up. We don't know if Dior has the same dedication to this bag as Chanel had to their bag for the next 20 years. All we know is that right now, Dior is absolutely popular, trending, everyone loves it, and people might continue to love it for the next 5, maybe even 10 years. But do they have the dedication to do it for another 20, 30 years? So I would say that if you are looking to invest in a Lady Dior for the reasons that it's an iconic bag for a luxury brand, I wouldn't make the decision to buy based on that idea alone. And the last reason why I think that you really can't compare the Classic Flap to the Lady Dior is because of the size and what you can fit into these bags. So this is the large size of the Lady Dior, and while it is hard to get in and out of, there is a lot of space in here. According to the dimensions, I did a quick calculation, and the volume you could fit into this bag is about 530 inches cubed. So by that, I just mean that you could fit, a letter size folder, a letter size notebook, whereas the Chanel Jumbo only has a volume of about 346 inches cubed. So that's about 65% of the capacity of the Lady Dior. So obviously you can mix and match the sizes that you think will work for your life. I just sold my medium size Lady Dior bag, but the volume is just slightly smaller than the jumbo. Chanel medium classic flap is about 148 inches cubed, which is more similar to the small size of the Lady Dior at about 100 inches cubed. So I would say that in terms of sizing, they serve very different purposes as well. So I'm not saying that you can't love both. Obviously, I have both of them. I use both of them, but I appreciate them for different reasons. And I recognize how different they are and how I would use them differently. For Chanel, I definitely want to use it as a shoulder bag. I love being hands-free. I'm always pulling something out, holding something in my hand, and I feel comfortable in a lot of different situations with my Chanel Classic Flap. Whereas with my Lady Dior, I only use it when I know I'm not going to be having to pull things in out of it all the time, and I'm only going to one very nice place where I can enjoy the look of the bag, enjoy the feel of the bag without having to fuss with the openings a lot. And I also choose my Lady Dior when I know that I can be carrying it as a top handle for most of the time.
So here's a close-up of the bag, and you can see that there's really no place to attach the shoulder strap other than where the top handles also attach. So in order to make it comfortable for yourself to carry, you would have to attach the shoulder strap to the outside ring of the top handles, which would then restrict your access to the opening of the bag. So even if you had the flat version, I think the top handles would still be in the way of accessing your items. So here I'm just having a little bit of trouble opening the zipper with one hand. It's not a very smooth zipper, and then when I reach in, it's very clear that my hands are rubbing against the zipper, but it is a very beautiful bag. And this patent leather material I've chosen is very durable. I have accidentally brushed it against some buildings, but it shows no signs of wear. But I know the normal lambskin version is very delicate. So onto a close-up of the Chanel Classic flap. You can see that I can very easily open and close it with just one hand. And then of course there is the pocket on the back side, so a great place to put things for easy access. And then for me, I've always chosen a caviar leather because I think the lambskin is just too delicate for me.
So I just wanted to give a little bit more information out there to let you guys know, if you haven't experienced living with a Chanel Classic flap or a Lady Dior, that these are some of the things you might want to think about and take into account when you're considering if you want to buy a Lady Dior. Now that you might think a Chanel is too expensive. And if you've done a lot of research and a lot of thinking into whether you want a Chanel Classic and now you're changing your mind and you are considering a Lady Dior, these are some of the other things to think about, not only how beautiful and elegant it is and how popular it is right now, but also using it in real life. It's very different than using a Chanel Jumbo, and I hope that you continue to do your own research to make the decision that is right for you and your life. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe if you want to see more content on luxury products. I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.